All right, guys. So I know I've talked about this subject a lot this week in regards to the BLM protests in New York City over the restaurant and their vaccine mandate. However, there's an interesting quote going around on social media about how BLM New York is essentially threatening a George Floyd type uprising over these vaccine mandates. And I don't think that just applies to New York City. I think it's something that applies nationwide as they see the vaccine mandates as racist. Now, there's a lot of people that's having this conversation, particularly on the right, about, are we supposed to be supporting Black Lives Matter, right? Like, is the enemy of my enemy still my enemy, or is it my friend? Is the enemy of the enemy my friend? Okay. And that's what I really want to talk about today. But first, I want to read real quickly here the quotes so that you guys kind of understand what's being said. And then I'm going to give you guys my opinion on how the right should look at BLM in their vaccine mandate protest. BLM organizer says the Blasio vaccine mandate weaponized against Black community. The co-founder of New York's Black Lives Matter chapter said New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio's citywide vaccine mandate is targeting the Black community and creating conditions akin to segregation. Quote, 72% of Black people in this city from the ages of 18 to 44 are unvaccinated, Chavana Newsom said during Monday protests in New York City. So what is going to stop the Gestapo, the NYPD, from rounding up Black people, from snatching them off the train, off the bus? Newsom warned that her group could respond with an uprising similar to the ones that followed the death of George Floyd in the summer of 2020. Quote, we're putting the city on notice that your mandate will not be another racist social distance practice. Black people are not going to stand by, or you will see another uprising, and that is not a threat. That is a promise, she said. The vaccine passport is not a free passport to racism. Kimberly Bernard, the co-founder of the Black Women's March, made a similar claim that COVID-19 mandates are being used to target Black people and other minorities. Quote, we're serving notice on the mayor and on the governor, on the restaurant industry, that we will not allow for you to use this pandemic vaccination cards and masks as another reason to be racist, to put us in prison because there's enough of us in there. Bernard said, okay, so as always, when I do these videos about the mask, the pandemic, the vaccine, the virus, I'm not making any claims about the virus, the vaccine, the pandemic. I'm not making any claims whatsoever, right? If you have any questions about the vaccine, the virus, the pandemic, mask, please consult your doctor. Please consult your medical professional. This is purely about public policy and public policy only. Now, to the question of how should the right feel about BLM and their threats of protesting against the vaccine mandates. And I think that a lot of people on the right are currently confused, right? There's questions on the right that people are saying, like, do you support BLM or do you support the vaccine mandate? Okay, as if, we're in a situation where it's either or, and we're not, right? They're trying to present a situation that seems that, the right has to align with BLM, and I don't think that's necessarily the case, right? I think the way I look at it is like this, right? It's the same way I told you guys how I look at the whole Bill Maher thing, right? When he speaks out against things that I disagree with on the left, right? And I agree with him in terms of what he's saying about the left, then, hey, I can agree with him on that one subject, right? I can say, listen, I agree with you on that, but I disagree with you on these other subjects. I think that this is the same type of situation, right? Where you have a group like BLM that obviously has been opposed, to the right, okay, because, they see the right as racist. But this same group, guys, is also starting to come around to the idea that they think the Democrats are racist too, right? They think that the Democrats have not acted in the best interest of Black people. And a lot of these people are feeling buyer's remorse about the Biden administration, right? Because keep in mind, Biden promised the world to these people, right? After the Democrat Party let them go wild last year, destroying their own communities, while at the same time promising them the world just to get Trump out of office. A lot of people expected Biden to come into office and to, at the very least, do something like police reform, something that they want. Up until this day, they still have not been able to do that. They haven't been able to do anything. And they haven't even made it a priority. Now you have these mandates, right, being pushed by the Democrat Party that is disproportionately affecting black people, right? In regards to, discrimination, to use, certain services and in a certain business and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden, these people are starting to realize, like, hold on now. Were we better off under Trump or we better off under Biden? Now, again, there's a more long, detailed conversation about the leader of Black Lives Matter, Hawk Newsom, Black Lives Matter New York, discussing that whole issue, right? About how, well, the left's not really serving our interests, but we don't really like the right either, right? So they're starting to realize that, you know what? I'm not sure if anybody's on our side, right? That's essentially what they're saying. And keep in mind, guys, BLM New York is not the same as Black Lives Matter Global Network. They're two different things, but at the same time, I kind of see them as the same because I think they all kind of operate kind of the same. They got the same similar ideology. But the way I look at it is like this. If they want to protest peacefully, right, to Mayor Bill de Blasio, okay, and across the country, hey, I'm not going to speak out against it. I'm not going to say anything against it. Even though I don't think that vaccine passports are racist, I think that the vaccine passports are government overreach, right, and authoritarianism, and arguably unconstitutional. I personally wouldn't use the argument that they're racist, but if they want to use that argument against the left, then hey, that's fine, go for it, right? Because sometimes, guys, it's better off to let other people fight your battles because other people can fight your battles more effectively than you can. Black Lives Matter has clearly impacted the Democrat Party, right? In corporate America as well in this country, right? Like if you go to a place like Washington, D.C., they have Black Lives Matter signs up on businesses just so those businesses don't get destroyed, right? And the Democrats have set the precedent all last year that it's okay to riot and destroy cities in the name of racism. Okay, so if they want to use this narrative that vaccine mandates or passports are racist, hey, go for it. I might not necessarily agree with you on that because I don't think the policy was crafted with the intent to discriminate against black people. It was crafted with the intent to discriminate against unvaccinated people. That's what the intent was, okay? But if that's what is needed to get the Democrats to reverse course on this government overreach, then hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to say anything about it. Now, if the protests turn into riots, if it gets violent, then yes, I have an issue with it. I have a big issue with that, and I would speak out against that and say, no, that's wrong. I don't agree with that because I don't support the use of violence to achieve political goals. But if you look at what happened all last year, and kind of the aftermath of that, obviously these companies are afraid of the violence. Obviously these companies, these businesses, do believe that BLM is prone to violence, okay? That's why they have to come out here and say, oh, we support y'all. We support y'all. No matter what, we support y'all. So with that being said, I mean, again, if they get violent, again, I don't support it. I don't support it whatsoever, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. And it would be interesting to see how the Democrats would deal with their own beast because they set the precedent that violence is okay in the name of fighting against racism, right? They told us that racism was a public health crisis, okay? It was a public health crisis on the same level as the pandemic, okay? Which gave them an excuse to go out here and riot and protest in the streets and break the COVID lockdown rules when we were in the middle of a pandemic and we didn't know anything about the virus, much less than we know now. But see, they did it because they wanted Trump out of office. So they let their own creation get out of control for the sake of trying to get Trump out of office. And again, I would find it fascinating to see if, that was to happen again, how the Democrats would respond. Is all of a sudden racism not a public health crisis anymore? Because that's what they're protesting against, right? They're saying that the vaccine passports are racist. Democrats said that racism was a public health crisis last year. So which one is a bigger public health issue, right? I would love to see the Democrats grapple with that question because they set it up for this to happen. They created this beast. And when a beast gets big enough, sometimes it breaks the chain and it goes after the owner. That's what happens. So the way I would look at it is like this. When it comes to BLM, right? I'll be like, listen, if y'all do peaceful demonstrations, hey, I ain't gonna say nothing, right? You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say nothing about it. I ain't gonna necessarily support you or donate anything to you, but hey, I ain't gonna speak out against it, right? I ain't gonna speak out against it. But if it gets violent, then yeah, obviously I think I have an issue. That's my stance. And that's the way that I would kind of rationalize the issue. I don't think you necessarily have to choose a side, right? Because sometimes, it's just best to let the left eat themselves, right? Let them eat themselves. Let their own hypocrisy and extreme rhetoric from last year and them allowing Black Lives Matter to just, again, set the precedent that it's okay to destroy cities. Let them deal with that. Okay, because eventually they were going to do it, right? It's not like police brutality has disappeared. It's just that it's been suppressed, right? It's been suppressed because Democrats in office. But eventually there was going to be another issue, right, that popped up that was going to, bring BLM back out, right? And this could be that issue. This could be that issue. So again, I just think this is one of those issues where it's like, you know what? I would love to see the Democrats try to deal with this, and I want them to regret supporting violence, right? I want them to regret and think twice next time they try to go along with the woke narrative of everything is racist and that racism is an excuse for violence and all this other type of stuff that I obviously don't support. If they learn that lesson, hey, you know what? Maybe that's for the good of everybody. Maybe they would think twice before laying in the bed with extremist groups like BLM and Antifa. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.